What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode, was it 12? Holy crap, it's already episode 12. And he hits you with that loud guitar to start it off. The guitar's loud because it's big. This week we have my, what year is this thing? I don't know exactly. It's a Peavey from, it'll be 2013-ish spec. I bet this was made. I don't know for sure because once again, it's not real, in a way. This is a Peavey PXD. Oh, sorry, I should start off with the actual, welcome to the Rick Chappell podcast episode, whatever it is now. It's been another week. Thanks for clicking on the stuff. But every week so far, we've had a different guitar on the show. So let's get right into the guitar on the show. This is the Peavey Vicious 3, I think was the technical name for it. It's yet another Devin Townsend signature, if you can't tell by the big old DTP on the fretboard, and the fact that I keep it exclusively in open C, with a low G, of course, being a 7-string. And this was the first Devin Townsend signature guitar, I guess, that was ever produced, even though it wasn't. I think the Framus Stormbender still gets that title, because you can buy one, from factories and stores and whatnot. These were briefly for sale, like you could order them online and you could order them from dealers and whatnot. They didn't order well from what I have kind of read over the years. If you can hear a cat meowing, it's Kevin. I don't know what's going on with her. We'll get into that later too. She's just being crazy about bugs, I think. Kevin, what? I picked her up earlier so she could get a bug in the air, and now she thinks everything up on the high parts of the walls is a bug. It's not a bug. Cats. Back to the guitar. They never really mass-produced these, is where it ends up. This one was given to a photographer that had done some work for the band. It was signed, that has now almost all but worn off, and the case was and is signed, so that's the signed piece of the puzzle there. But the irony of this guitar, with the signature for me, is I have a Dean V that we haven't had on the show yet. That was my main guitar, around the high school time there. Or I guess just before the last one we talked about being a high school guitar. Anyways, my grandmother bought me a Dean V, a Dave Mustaine. It's a beautiful guitar I'll never get rid of. It plays great too, those things are amazing. But the reason it attaches to this one is I took it when I first met Devin Townsend at a record store signing. I was like, can you sign my guitar? Even though it's from the Megadeth guy. And he did. But he signed it on the bottom horn. And when I play Vs, I generally do this with them. And my leg wore off the, Dev part of the signature. So it just says kind of Evan or Vin. And then this one, he signed the top of it long before I ever bought it. And when I got it, I decided to play it. Because that's what you fucking do. And by playing it, I've worn off the Evan. So between my two flying Vs that are both signed by Devin Townsend, one of them is signed by Devin Townsend. There's one complete signature. Which I find hilarious. I know of one guy for sure, a friend of mine on Facebook, that has one of these. His name's Paul. Shout out to Paul. You're a great dude. And he had a whole experience with even getting one. He ordered it like anybody else would. I think at his local at a Guitar Center, or Tom Lee Music was the ones that had them in Canada. Had them. But anyways, he placed an order through a dealer, and then it just took, I don't remember how long, but it was ridiculous to such an extent that Paul talked to Dev and was like, I still haven't gotten one of those, by the way. And he was like, what? So Paul actually has a made in USA beautiful guitar. This one has a sticker on the back that says, designed and engineered in the USA, handcrafted in China. So I don't have the same guitar Paul has. And the one gripe I do have about this guitar, well, we'll get into all of them eventually, but the thing that's persisted with it that I have been unable to fix and you cannot fix is just the utter design of it. This is a baritone guitar, which is super cool. It's a 7-string, which is amazing. It's a Flying V, which is metal as fuck. But this bridge and I guess it's the neck the neck angle, I should call it. There's no neck angle. The neck and the body are, completely flat to each other. which looks cool, feels cool. Except to have the action nice and low, the strings are very close to the body, so there's just not a lot of room. I have noticed I hit this guitar a lot more than any other guitar, and it's just the strings are very, very tight to the body. I don't know if the ones... Actually, I know for sure Devin's last one did not have that issue. If you see in pictures, it's got a raise on it that clearly has solved that problem. I don't know if Paul's has that. I don't know if any of the other ones that made it out into the world. I think there's maybe 100 of these or so if I had to guess on it. And most of them are like this one, because this is the China one, right? But it's a great guitar, and I'm very happy I have it, and I don't plan to ever get rid of it. It's my favorite 7-string I've ever had. It's the only reason I have an ever-tuned 7-string, ironically, was I wrote tons of songs on this guitar because I finally had a 7-string that played a low G in a way that felt good to play and everything. Hey, bear. Maybe she'll stop meowing and just come hang out. Doubt it, though. And there's the noise. Cats, man. She distracted me, and I kind of forgot what I was talking about, but it was about the guitar. That much I know for certain. It's also been another week. What's gone on this week? Don't jump out the window. I had stuff written down. Let's just take it from zero here. Oh, the first one, the most glaring thing that I have yet to mention, is I chopped off a bunch of hair. I had a slightly longer hairdo. It's funny, at work I was the short hair guy, and I'm still the short hair guy. But at any other job, I would have been the long-haired guy previously. I had that top floppy thing you see in all the other episodes. But it was time to do a change, man. This is basically the haircut I had before the pandemic and the whole world went to shit. So, maybe we're trying to bring that time back. This is not in tune anymore. There's also this bright thing on my desk right now that you can ignore. 8 flat, what happened? Oh, my locking tuner let go. And then I tightened it back up. So when I joked that this guitar did a G, it wasn't doing a G. There you go. Also, the shiny thing on my desk is in for review. We'll talk about that later, too. Right now, it's a $2,500 tuner. That's how we're using it today. But the haircut was time for change. Yeah. I just got tired. I don't do my hair. I'm a very low-maintenance guy with those kinds of things. And it's just out of, like, laziness and stuff. So this is even less to have to worry about. Other thing we can talk about was last week I posted a review, another YouTube review, of a Boss IR200, which for those that don't know is like another kind of all-in-one guitar rig thing. It's an amp and a cabinet sim. People are finally starting to fully understand, I think, that an amp is only part of the game. The cabinet and the speaker or the microphone is really the other half of the situation. So it's cool that they're, billing them as such. And this thing on my desk right now is the Fender Tone Master Pro, which also has that ability. That's for next week's review. And the Axe Effects is what I've used for years to do that same thing. I use a Torpedo Captor X in the background there as just a cab modeler for my amp back there. So to be able to, have all of these tones and sounds with little, boxes nowadays is insane. And they're great. I mean, this idea has been around since the 80s. The guy from Boston literally designed one. Not Boston the town, Boston the band. Like, more than a feeling. The guitar player from that band literally designs products that are amazing and has since, I think before he was in the band. The company Rockman, if you didn't know, that's the guy from Boston. He's the rock man. You just gonna chill there the whole time, you goblin? I'll get her a cat bed for up there, because I feel like it's a good spot for the kitty cat. But yeah, how can I sum up the IR200 review? It's good. Honestly, I think pretty much all of the products that are on the shelves are good. That's the reality of it now. It's not very clickbait-ish to be like, the next one I review will be good too, because they're all good. But I guess it's all about how they fit into your workflow, whatever you like the looks of more, whatever fits into your budget, Shut up, dog. What are we going to do about those dogs, Kevin? Personally, I'm an Axe-Fx guy. With this whole digital amp modeling thing, I bought an Axe-Fx in 2017, I think. It's an Axe-Fx 2 XL Plus. And the magical thing also about these modeling rigs is they're consistent. You know, when you turn it on, it's a computer, so it sounds the same every time. Would you shut the fuck up? Thank you. But that also means is they don't age or anything, right? Like an amp will sound different in 10 years than it did the day you bought it. You're going to break in the speakers. You're going to wear in the tubes. You're going to change the tubes. It's a evolving thing, you know? It's real. You plug into a computer from the 80s and it sounds exactly like it did in the 80s, which is cool. And it means if you don't watch commercials, you don't have to buy the new thing. People joke about how they have like planned obsolescence in the Axe-Fx because, you know, they're going to come out with a new one every couple years and it's going to make your old one sound like shit. No. That's just simply not true. The CDs that I have heard, the songs on the radio, fucking Metallica live have used an Axe-Fx too. And you know what? When the 3 comes out, which it has, and it looks awesome, it sounds really good. Does it sound better? No. Because sound isn't a better or worse thing to me. This one sounds like this one, and maybe that one will sound like that one, but chances are they sound the fucking same if you dial them in the same. I get heated about this. Anyways, technology's great. It's about what works best for you. That said, all the reviews I'll ever do are never going to make me sell my Axe-Fx. But the boss one was fun. What else can we talk about this week? I bought a book, which is weird for me. I don't know if that's weird for you that, you know, books are still around and a print medium, but I bought a hardcover motherfucking book. This is a blue episode. I don't mind it, though. The book is called, what's it called? The Creative Way of Being. It's just like a hippy-dippy book. It's by Rick Rubin, the producer. I saw him on a podcast, and he was plugging it, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you wrote a book. I'll check that out. And I'm glad I did, because it's really cool. What's behind? Oh, it's Kevin knocked something over before, and I'm just now noticing. It's hard to describe because there's no narrative or anything, and he's not telling the stories of his career. It's not like, oh, I did an album with Jay-Z, and it was really fun. He just talks about being a creative dude. And there's one story, for example. There's a little chapter of the book that talks about, you know, one great way to grab inspiration is if you're like totally stuck on a lyric, for example, grab a book, grab any book or a magazine or a fucking menu, like anything with words on it, and just read the first thing you see. And try that as the lyric. Like at least, you know, kickstart the brain, do something else. And that's how it's written in his book in much prettier terms, you know? But the famous story of Rick Rubin's life there is that's what he's done with, the big one was System of a Down. The song was, I think it's Chop Suey, their biggest hit ever. And the bridge of that one where it's like, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. That was just the first line that Serge picked up out of a random book. But the book that Rick Rubin has written doesn't tell it from his perspective or Serge's perspective, because the way he had described it in the podcast was if he wrote it that way, you go, oh, that's crazy that Serge did that. But if it just is how you do it, you go, hey, I could do that. Which is a pretty cool way to experience a book, I guess. I don't know. It's also just full of little poem-ish musings that have been good to read. Like, I don't know how, you know, the beauty of art is everybody experiences it differently. But there's a few that have jumped out to me that have, like, I don't want to say taken the pressure off of my work at all, but there was one great one about how when you take an idea of yours and you make it real, it can seem smaller. But that's just because the world is real and your imagination is infinite. Which I was like, oh, I'm not failing. You know, like that's literally, you know, some of those little light bulb moments. I don't know if you guys are artists, but sometimes if you think of a song or maybe you think of a painting or something, I don't know, and then you paint it, you go, this isn't as pretty as I thought. Well, you didn't have the right red maybe, or maybe the real red is different than the red in your brain or whatever, but at least you still did it, you know? There's my summary of the Rick Rubin book. I have recommended it to coworkers though and everything though, because it's been a good one. That said, I don't read much often. I was gonna say both of those words at the same time. Much or often. But maybe, who knows, maybe I just like all books and this is the first one in a long time. No, I think I got lucky. It's a good one. What else can we talk about? I have to do another cover song soon. I posted Wake Me Up When September Ends, and it got tons of views, and now it's sitting where it's at. It probably got tons of views because I posted it on the last day of September, so people are Googling, that song and whatnot. So maybe at the end of September next year, it'll go whoop again. Who knows? But hey, it got tons of views for me, which is cool. Everything, I've said it before, everything on the internet's measured in thousands, and I get hundreds, so I'm proud of the views, but it's definitely not going viral, let's say, But the next cover I want to do, I have two that are both all but done, One is a cover I'm just singing because a friend of mine made the full backing track and filmed himself doing it, so I just have to film myself. And that's Yesterday by the Beatles, the literal most covered song of all time, I will also be doing. But the cool thing about it is my friend Chris, who I work with, Chris Savage, he's the one that's played violins on my next record and all kinds of little stuff here and there. He's a tremendous musician. He has made a cover of it with guitar and all the strings. Like, he played the cello and the violins and everything on it. So it's sort of the perfect backing track to give a whirl. And it's cool that I know the guy who made it. It's not just the internet this time. Shout out, though, as always, to Marcel from Germany and the many other musicians I've worked with from, was it all across Canada? There's been a few, I don't know, over the pandemic. We did some collabs. It was fun. Some of the guys were not that good, though. I will not throw anybody particularly under the bus, but there was a few instances where I would receive their contributions and be like, all right, well, I guess you're in the video, but you're not in the fucking mix. Ugh. Some people. That said, I've been that guy in the past, too. I had a very humbling experience just out of high school. I got the opportunity to play guitar on somebody's record, and it was one I was really excited to do. Like, it wasn't a big name by any means, but it had some names on it, and I was fucking hyped. I learned it all, went to track it, and my timing was shit, and my playing was not that great, and my tuning wasn't great, and I was fresh out of high school and green as can be on that stuff. So, since then, I've worked with that guy, and we get along great now, and he's fantastic. But that was a good experience to have, so maybe those guys needed to know that they're not on the songs that they think they're on, too. I hope they don't show their friends the videos. That'd be embarrassing. Oh, and the other cover song I might do, will do, might be next, is The Cult of Personality, which I've been talking about for probably 5 episodes now. My Gibson Explorer back there, the 80s Explorer, is the guitar that will be used for that one. And it's currently out of commission because I ordered a black bridge and tailpiece for it and black tuners. And the tuners showed up, so I threw them in, but the bridge is not here yet, so it's got no strings on it yet. And when it's finally put together, I will record the guitars for that one, and then it'll all be out. The funniest thing about the Cult of Personality video I can already share with you is the Cult of Personality is like a big shreddy solo song too. So I've already recorded those guitars. I recorded a rough guitar, and then I did all the leads, and now I just have to go back and get my rhythms, tight and good. But the solo's filmed, it's edited, that part of the video's done, and I don't even own that guitar anymore. I won't even say which guitar it is just yet. It was a very flashy one that was in a lot of videos that I did before. But it's long gone and has been for months now. So when that video does come out, that guitar will be a distant memory almost. And then actually the bass guitar in that video isn't mine. I borrowed it from a coworker. And that's all I'll say for now, because it's a cool bass. And that's part of why I want to use the all black Explorers to make it all go together. So there's your hints. It's a black bass. What else is going on? How are we doing for time so far? 20 minutes in. I feel like I haven't been quite as crackhead excited as last time, or 2 times ago when Kevin caused a chaos intro. Oh, now I was going to tell some more stories about this Peavey V. So I've told you what it is and kind of how I acquired it, but the way I actually got it in my hands is pretty funny too. So I found this thing on Craigslist in Wisconsin, I think. Somebody posted it on Facebook and I was like, done, cut, print. Let's do this. So I messaged the guy and I was like, hey, I'd like the guitar. I live over here in Canada. Here's my postal code and whatnot. I'm willing to pay shipping. Let's do it. And he was cool, and I got it. That said, he shipped it to my address. That's what he told FedEx to do. And then I received a call from FedEx that was like, yeah, it's huge. So if you can come to Richmond, it's like $70. And for those that don't know, Richmond is a bigger city than mine, and it's maybe an hour away. So like if you come to Richmond, it's $70. If you want it to your house, it's $400. Because I guess it needed a pallet or something. I don't know. It came in a massive coffin case that's even bigger than it. Oh, I haven't told you yet. It's a 28-inch scale for those that understand the math of instruments. That plus it being a V and all mahogany are just ingredients to a heavy, big instrument. Oh, it's got locking tuners, EMG 81.7, and the only EMG 7-string single coil equipped guitar in existence, as far as I know. This pickup doesn't exist on the internet or anywhere in any catalog ever that I've ever been able to find. But it's in the neck of all of Devin's guitars and all these ones that have been selling, or all these ones that were sold. Past tense. And I don't even know what it is. It's a 7-string size single coil with a gold EMG logo. And it must be active because this guitar is an active guitar. But if you Google those specs, you're not going to find anything as far as I'm aware. So hey, cool, another unique thing. But one of those things I hope never breaks, because then I'm up a creek, you know? There's no reason to think an EMG pickup would just randomly shot out on me one day, but there's a first for everything. What other stories? Oh, okay, then so anyways, I went to Richmond, spoiler alert, to go get it. I wasn't paying the $400. So a buddy of mine, actually, that we used to do like a vlog with, went out to do a photo shoot, and I was like, oh, if we can pick this up on the way, it'll be perfect. So there is a video out there. I think it's called Alex and Rick Have a Vlog. And I don't remember, it's like episode 2 or 3 or something. Anyways, we go up to Cypress Mountain, which is this beautiful mountain, and there's like a bunch of nice cars, and we're doing the photos and whatnot. And I am not paying any attention because I'm unboxing this guitar in the background. Like I opened this one up on top of a mountain, which is just another hilarious over-the-top moment of this instrument. And then I remember by the end of that photo shoot, I was just worn out, man. I wanted to play this thing more than I wanted to take pictures of anybody's BMW, even our friend Josh, who was there, and a great dude. But then there was like younger kids that showed up that had cars I didn't care about, and I'm not good at not being honest. So I was just like, Greg, can we go home? This is not fun. And I think now that I've told you that, if you do find that video, you'll tell by my tone of voice by the end, I'm like, this is over. I'm ready to leave. And that vlog doesn't exist anymore. We don't do that one. Him and I are still buddies. All is good. But yeah, I'm not really into taking pictures of the same 7 cars every week, you know. I did that for a living for long enough. Oh, another great thing about this guitar, when it showed up, it wasn't in great shape. It was, like, no nicks, no scratches, no nothing. But the fret ends and all those things, like, build quality-wise, it wasn't great. So I took it to a luthier that we've talked about on here. The episode where I had my Solar V on here, I talked all about how they took, or he or whoever it was, just was a nightmare to deal with, essentially, on that one. And the reason I took that guitar to him was I had first taken this guitar to them. So I had built up a little confidence, you know? And this one went pretty good. This guitar was just in bad shape. Like I said, the fret ends were bad. It had some high frets. It had some low frets. I think the first fret was sticking way out, like up, and then it would cut my hand down here. It was a nightmare. So I was like, hey, I know that the lacquer's cracked on the sides and whatnot. Like, this thing's in bad shape, and the nut isn't great. Would you guys mind, like, can you just freshen this up, make it better for me? So they did. The guy did a great job on this one, man. It doesn't look perfect because the fret ends, you know, weren't perfect, and it was painted over, so nothing you can really do about that. But I think he did a decent repair job on the ones that really flaked off, and the frets definitely are level now, and the guitar became just infinitely more playable. So awesome job there. But it was that cursed luthier, man. Because after that, I took them to Solar. And go watch that episode, because I tell a pretty good story about that one going back and forth and not working, and excuses for not even wanting to touch it in the first place after they've touched it in the first... Okay, go watch that episode. You'll hear all about that one. Oh, the other thing, I was going to tease a little bit is this device on the counter right now. So this is the Fender Tone Master Pro. I joked it's a $2,500 tuner because that's all I'm using it for right now. But let's actually unmute it, and I'll let you hear it. So I'm making a full YouTube video where I will go over this thing in grave detail. There's things I love about it. There's things I really don't. I made one heavy preset so far. Let's see how it reacts to being low as low can go. And now my Axe Effects is plugged in at the same time, so we can A/B and go back and forth. But I'm going to save that for the video. So there is the Fender Tone Master Pro. Let's mute it again. Hold for tuner, sure. The one thing I will spoil that I do like about it is the interface. It's very fun to work with. All of these buttons are knobs, and it's got a touch screen, and it's very cool. But there's a software things of it that I don't comprehend, and things about it that, like I said, all the gear is good nowadays, but it's all about how they work into your workflow. And this one wouldn't work into a workflow for me, aside from keeping it maybe right here on my desk. But for a $2,500 tuner looper, I'm not going to pay that. But, you know, if I didn't have an Axe Effects, or, you know, if you were in the market for something to do a tabletop solution, spoiler alert, it sounds good, you know? And they've actually come out with the big speaker that goes with it, and that's a very cool piece of kit. I could see myself owning one of those before I would need one of these, only because, like I said, I already have the Axe Effects type world, you know? Oh, I was going to talk about the media I have been consuming this week, such as the book. Burp, burp, burp. But I also forgot that Loki was coming back. You know, season 2 of that good old Marvel show. Loki, I haven't watched much of the Marvel stuff lately. I think me and the rest of the world kind of gave up after Endgame. Or, you know, around that time. I haven't seen Miss Marvel. I haven't seen Eternals or any of that stuff. I've watched, I think, all the Disney Plus shows, though. They've been cool, except for She-Hulk. Not because I'm a misogynist, but because the show was boring and poorly written, I thought. Or no, not so poorly written as much as the CGI was really... All the things the internet says about it are true, frankly, in my opinion. Anyways, Loki came back, and Season 2, Episode 1 was cool. And then my spoilerish review is that it's Season 2, Episode 1, and it starts off with this big, like, you'll die forever premise. And I'm just like, this is Episode 1. I know that you don't. So if I could title that episode, I would have just called it Loki Season 2, # a waste of time. Because the one thing I enjoy about the weekly serialized, the weekly shows, you know, is they're world building. They're evolving. Every week gets a little different. It's moving forward. But kind of frankly, after that episode, it's in the exact same place it was after the end of Season 1. Like, it didn't move the story any direction as far as I know. Like, it did the gripe of, okay, we picked up right where we left off, but there's a new problem. And then it just solved it by the end. You're like, okay, so now we're right back to where we left off. Thanks. But, joke's on me, I'll watch it next week. Because now I want to know what happens next still. I would just like it to be a next, if that makes any sense, you know? Also, the show's really product placed by McDonald's. I live in a McDonald's, basically. There's one right by my house, right by my work, and I go there for, like, breakfast most days and lunch most days, so I eat too much fast food right now. But it's delicious. And I'm getting them points. Actually, the other day I forgot my wallet, so I had breakfast and lunch for free, just because I cashed in a bunch of points. I had, like, free McNugget. No, what I have? Free McMuffins and then a free Big Mac and all that fun stuff, so... If you eat fast food and you don't have those apps, man, let them track you, because they'll reward you with some extra free poison sometimes. I, for one, hail our overlords. But yeah, Season 2. So far good. I'll keep watching it. We're halfway through, and I have blown through almost everything I've gotten written down, but why not? We always end up going off script and just blabbing anyways. The next thing on the list is the fact that I'm wearing my deconstruction t-shirt, which ties into this guitar. It's actually, I put on the shirt this morning without thinking about it. And then when it was time to do the podcast, I was like, oh, I should play this guitar because it can tell the stories. So this is a Devin Townsend signature guitar. and it was designed and given to him around the time he was doing the album Deconstruction. That said, he then, toured the albums and whatnot, and my based main Devin Townsend memory or story that I can always tell is back when he did 4 shows and 4 nights in London, England. I had the pleasure of going. And because I had the tickets I did and whatnot, the band and everybody was very kind to me, and I got to meet a lot of people and hang out a lot. And the gist of it is there was, some little goodie bags you got with a comic book and a poster and whatnot. So I have one of the posters from the show and one of the comic books from that show signed by everybody who was in the comic book signed by everybody in the band mainly. And then the poster is signed by everybody who was on stage at any moment, with the exception of his wife and son, whom I did meet, and I asked him permission. I was like, hey, do you mind if I get them to sign it? Like, it's your kid. I don't want to just be like, do it. And he was like, yeah, you should get him to do it. But then I still felt too embarrassed to go up to his wife and kid and be like, hey, your dad said you should sign this. So I never did. But it's signed by everybody else, and it's framed up in my living room. And in that poster, he's playing this guitar. So it was a cool full circle moment to go to those shows, have that poster, have it up on the wall and all that stuff. And now I have the guitar. Not the one, like I said, this wasn't owned by Devin, but it's the exact same one in the picture. You know what I mean? And they're pretty rare. So one of the many reasons this one will not be sold. Those 4 record shows, by the way, were all just amazing. It was Key, Addicted, Deconstruction, and Ghost. And during the Ghost show, I remember I fell asleep during the opener because it had been a lot of long week, But I didn't fall asleep during his show. And I had the best seats for that one. I was sat second row just behind his wife and son, funny enough. And there's a video on my YouTube of that show. I think it's Heart Baby, one of my favorite songs off that album. I filmed just from my seat there, just hanging out. And the cool thing is there are some overdubs on the live album, of course, but there's not too many on that one. I can prove because I have the video. There was another famous metal band I don't want to throw under the bus because I'm a huge fan, but they record and release almost all of their shows. They're of that level, and they got caught editing the tits off of one. There's a song they have with a lot of double bass. You guys can probably figure out who I'm talking about. But there's a song with a lot of double bass, and there was all the crowd film stuff, and then they released the real video, and it was perfect in the real one, and not so great in the other one. The excuse I had read was that, one kick pedal wasn't recording, so they just recorded the other. But if you go and only one is recording, you get this. Not fucking just a seizure. So shout out to that band for being amazing and fixing it on the final version. Can't say I wouldn't have done the same, guys. And hey, that memory will live on with everybody who was in the arena, and they bought copies of that audio anyways. So there you go. What else have I been watching this week? Oh, there was more. Oh, no, that's everything I was going to say about the Deconstruction guitar and whatnot. We've talked about this guitar on and off all episodes so far. But that is the point. Also, I'm not ambidextrous. I just checked that with my left hand and it looked like shit. The other thing I watched literally right before. Oh, was there a... I just noticed that like sound. I wonder if that's from this thing. When I have any piece of gear to demo, I don't always use it the way it's meant to be designed, I should plug my guitar straight into this and then plug this into the computer. But instead, I just plugged it into my guitar splitter, so my guitar is still going into the rest of my stuff too. And when you do that, it can things can actually talk backwards to each other. So plugging in something on a separate pathway will still affect the other pathways, if that makes any sense to you. But I don't think this is making any noise. Sometimes the flashing lights or the LEDs can do stuff, but I think we're all right. Oh, now you're listening to both again. No, we don't want that. One really cool thing I'll talk about already is the fact that all of these buttons here are switches, or for you to press with your feet. They're also knobs, so you can turn them and adjust parameters, which is amazing and fun to use, but I don't know if I'd want to kick the shit out of them live. you know? They seem really sturdy and whatnot. But still, that seems like something designed to be hit with your foot. And that's the other thing. I'll spoil my review for you a little bit. That may be my gripe with this unit, is I'm not sure I would want it on the floor in front of me with drunk people on that side and just it between me and them, you know? It's got a touchscreen in it, which is fun to work with, but not fun if somebody drops their beer on, I bet. You know, like things like that. I feel like this might be a little delicate for live, but very fun to play with in a setting like this. Like if I was buying this, I would put it on a little bit more of a tilt so it's facing me and leave it right up here like this. That's how I would use one. I wouldn't put it on the floor, is what I'm getting at. It also has MIDI and all those things, though, so you could just buy it and then hide it in the back and pre-program all your stuff. That's why I'm an Axe-Fx fan. Is in my head, that's the way to do it. I don't gig much, if at all. But when I even did my my live stream concert, which, hey, plug that, Rick. I did that in, I think it was April here. Just did it in here. It's me playing a bunch of my original music. I had released an album earlier this year, Black Tie Affair. There's another plug. And I was like, what should you do to promote it? Play a gig. You don't have a band. Play a show by yourself. So I did. And I'm going to do another one next year. I think at least once a year I'll hopefully come up with a record and do a live show from home. And maybe I was considering doing 2 of those live streams this year. I might do another one this year before the clock runs out. But we'll see. Anyways, when I do those things, I pre-program my guitar changes, which for those of you that don't understand, all the switches on here you would use to change your sound while you're playing. But if you play to a metronome and have like maybe a video going behind you kind of thing, you can actually time everything together just to work. So since I don't have a band, I have the drums and the bass guitar pre-recorded and playing. And essentially in that track and in that program that's playing that, it'll also just make my guitar louder or quieter or distorted or turn the echo on or off or change from a clean sound to a dirty sound. So I can just play and sing and not have to worry about tap dancing, which I think is everybody's dream. So the fact that this thing has MIDI means that, you don't have to stomp on these buttons every single day. So hey, maybe they've already solved that for you. And maybe they're fucking made of titanium and amazing and will never break. I don't know. I just know I break a lot of stuff. So, like I said, it could be a great unit if you needed one. And it fits in your workflow that way. But me, Axe-Fx, thank you. Oh, the other stuff right before I did this, I was watching the movie Dogma, which is just amazing, man. If you made it 37 minutes in, you're definitely a fan. And if you're definitely a fan, I'm being definitely honest when I can just tell you that, like, organized religion is not for me. So if it's for you, cool, do your thing. But my favorite thing about the movie Dogma is, as a non-believer, non-whatever person, I don't take offense to any of it because it parodies a lot of religious aspects. But if you think about it, it's not even a parody. It's exactly as real as any of the things it's parodying. It's lore. It's make-believe. It's a movie. It's art. In my opinion, it's as real as the source material, is what I'm getting at, So when you have that point of view with a movie like that, I feel like you can really enjoy it because you believe it a little bit more, All movies are just suspending reality, is the point I'm trying to make. But the movie Dogma is beautiful and amazing. It's got George Carlin in it, man. Any movie with George Carlin playing a priest. If you've ever seen Buddy Jesus, that meme where he's like, that's from the movie Dogma. It's got Jay and Silent Bob in it. I think it was directed by Silent Bob, like all those great movies are. I'm just going to call him Silent Bob because that'll piss off somebody on the internet, I'm sure. And in every movie, Silent Bob has the best line, man. In this one, all he says is thank you. It has God in it. God is played by Alanis Morissette. Alan Rickman is in it. Chris Rock. Like, we're talking a star-studded cast. And the only reason I learned that it will never get a sequel is it was produced by the infamous Harvey Weinstein. So because of that fact, he still owns the rights to it, I think, or something like that. So essentially a Dogma 2 movie would have to be produced by Harvey Weinstein. And if you understand the world, you know that will never happen anymore. I don't think he's dead. I don't remember if he died. But he ain't a free man, and he ain't a good man from everything that came out there. Still love Silent Bob, though. He had nothing to do with all those atrocities, I sure fucking hope. I also checked out a new Lamb of God single, and then was bamboozled into learning it was not a new Lamb of God single. Lamb of God came out with a record a year or two ago called Omens. I wasn't really a fan. I'm a fan of Lamb of God, but just to be honest, it didn't hook me all that much, so I just let it be. You know, you don't have to love everything. But then they released a single, and I was like, oh, I'll check it out, because I still like the band, and I'll still give everything they release a chance, you know? And I guess it was actually just a bonus track from Omens, but I was like, new, fresh start. And you know what? Now I might have to go back and listen to the album Omens more, because that song crushed, and maybe there was a little more of that in it than I recognized at first. The new song's called Evidence, and it slapped, man. Played it at work, because I work at a music store, and that's great. But we were playing, it was a late Friday night, and I don't always take over the Bluetooth, but on Friday nights I typically do, because it's only like me and one other coworker in there, and he'll do it more of the week than me kind of thing. So Friday night, I figure I can only, I don't have to subject everybody that I work with to it, just the one guy. And he put ups with it, good Lord. He can put up with it. So we did Billy Joel for like an hour and a half, like just the greatest hits of Billy Joel. And then somebody came in for lessons, and they had like a little dog with them. Like their husband was taking music lessons, and the wife was just waiting for them. But they've got their little puppy, and it's super cute. And we're hanging out with the dog, and the dog's great. And then she goes off. You know, we're not playing with the dog the whole time. So the dog's chilling on her lap, way off in the corner, I think in the other half of the store. I forget they're there. I put on Lamb of God, and it's just fucking on it. It's Lamb of God. And I didn't even notice, but the dog had to leave. I guess the dog didn't enjoy the jump up of intensity. And then when they came back in later, they're like, oh yeah, we had to go in there. The dog preferred Billy Joel. And what a moment. Maybe that's why you should know the new Lamb of God track is good if the dog can't be in the room. There's your pass. The one very cool thing that I learned, I watched, because Lamb of God's great for making of movies of their albums. They've done it since Sacrament, I believe. And they had a lot of live DVDs too. Like that was a very filmed band for a while. They were very smart to do all that. There's even live DVDs from before that. My favorite one ever has a bonus where they go to like the same festival in Sweden, like almost every year or whatever, because that's the tour schedule. And they're like, yeah, one year we were here and Willie shit himself, or somebody shit their pants and just ran into the woods and threw them away. And then every year they would go back and find his pants still. Like they were still like by like some ugly tree, you know. That was a funny bit. Nowadays, I bet some very unhealthy fan probably has those pants framed or something. But all the great jokes of those DVDs, man. Lamb of God tour DVDs got me through a good chunk of high school. When they're all putting on that cat head and punching each other in the face. Randy, I was never into Philadelphia with Randy and Mark, you know, drunk fighting each other. But the point I'm trying to make is in the making of Omens movie, it was kind of revealed just how well they're getting along right now, which is really cool. It's neat to see they recorded the album mostly live, you know, all together in the room, which is just such a departure from Sacrament, where Randy had to go to a different state. Literally, like, you know, like leave town. And yeah, it's cool that they're still out there kicking, man. I miss Chris Adler. I'm sure many people do. But Art Cruz is an amazing drummer, so it's not like the band's any worse. I just like originality, you know? And the brothers, Willie and Chris. But hey, whatever keeps them on the road and loving life, right? The other new song I wanted to talk about was actually a buddy of mine. His artist name is just C333J. I don't know if there's a better way to say that. His name's Chris Johnson. There's the J. And 333 is just like a, you know, fun number for him, I think. But he released, he's done all kinds of little stuff here and there. He used to be, I met him actually way back for the Devin Townsend shows in London there, and that's where we kind of started hanging out. He, actually, that goes way back, actually. Let's tell that story. There's the Epiphone Les Paul back there, which I've talked about. And I've talked about coming fourth place in like an EMG contest back in the day. The first time I ever met Chris Johnson was backstage at the Devin Townsend show. And he's like, oh, I'm the artist representation guy for EMG. And I was like, oh, that's super cool. this summer I came 4th place in that contest. Did you have anything to do with that? And he was like, that was my thing. I made that video. And I was like, I'm the kid. So that was an instant way to hit it off there amongst us. But yeah, since then, he no longer works for EMG. He's done all kinds of stuff. He's currently with Kiesel. And that fact alone makes me want a Kiesel. I'm sure one of these days I'm going to whip out. I'd love to whip out and actually visit him down there in California. But that probably won't happen. If I do visit, I'm sure I'll come home with a Kiesel, though. Because I can't say no to cool guitars. It's a sickness. And I kind of want a headstockless guitar. So, like, I don't know. Them Kiesel headstockless things are pretty cool. And I bet Chris could get me a good hookup. And the really neat thing about them is they're all custom for the most part. Or a great deal of them are custom. They have a very custom shop order process, you know. They're kind of build to order. So the thing I'd like to exploit is my connection. Not to get a better deal or jump the line, but to go down there and maybe get like a nice factory tour and actually try out some of these different specs that I don't know what I like. And therefore, when I do order a Kiesel, I'll order like the best one I've ever had because I'll know what I want, you know? Instead of just ordering by looks, which isn't always the best way to do it. Sometimes you can be really surprised with combinations of specs and things that you don't see coming either, so to have that one-on-one consultation, like the stars, consultation would be a better way to order for me, I think. Not that, you know, that's a sustainable way for a business to run. I just want special treatment, Chris, so come on. One day I'll come visit you down in California. And yeah, he released a new single. That's why I started talking about Chris there. You should check it out. It's like ambient-ish guitar, but not like this is ambient guitar. Like it's, you know, some cool little beats in the background and then the occasional cool lick and stuff. Like it's cool instrumental music, man. Good for him. He also made one, you know, most famous thing that if you're watching this video and you're a Devin Townsend fan, you've seen the EMG TV video where he sings Kingdom and it gets millions of views. That was the other brainchild of Chris Johnson, was the EMG TV series. So good for you, man. You've done all kinds of cool stuff. I've also talked about this Fender. That was the next thing on my list. I'm going to film a review of this one literally as soon as I'm done this podcast. I wasn't sure what to do first this morning, and then it took me till 1 o'clock to decide. And then I was like, I'll do and I froze again. But the podcast had to come first because it comes out first, man. That's how it works. So if you're watching this on Sunday still, as soon as it goes live, know that I am currently reviewing the Fender Tone Master Pro. And that video will hopefully come out on Thursday. I'm aiming for like a twice a week schedule, and my days off are a good time to aim for those, you know? Oh, and then the other thing I can mention, just tick it off already because we're getting near the end, is behind me is my pedal board, because I'm a guy who has a lot of guitar stuff. And on my pedal board, it's way too big. I have like the Pedal Train Classic, I think it's called. And there's, 4 pedals on the whole thing. And I'm cool with that. I got my pedal board years ago when I started gigging with a band that just had more pedals, you know? I went from playing with a band that I had a tuner to a band that I had like a tube screamer, a tuner, an amps controller, and then a wah. And as soon as you have more than one pedal, you may as well bolt them together because it's less stuff to kick around, go missing, and, you know, load in and out of the venue. So I bought that pedal board. Oh, look at you, you pancake. You're so cute. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I wake you? Oh, pumpkin. Cats, man, so cute. Anyways, over the years, it's evolved. I still am not a big pedal guy. Now my tuner isn't even on it. My tuner's buried under the desk. That's what you see me always clicking on and off down there. What is my pedal collection, though? Just starting from what's in eyesight, I have a Fractal Audio expression pedal that's plugged into my Axe Effects. So that's a wah, or in this preset, it does the amount of echo. So here it's at 0. That's a lot of echo. But if I turn it up, there's an even longer echo there and a bit of a chorus, so you can hear no chorus. There's that chorus now. So it adds even more goo. The next pedal beside it is, these aren't in order, this is just what I can see. One of those old Line 6 DL4s. which for those that don't remember them, they are the big green delay unit that Lion 6 made years ago, which I have set to like the world's longest ping pong that won't oscillate, like just to the point where it doesn't go after 3 minutes. So that's cool. And then that is usually plugged in up here where this thing is currently taking up the cables in the space for. I have my Roland Space Echo, which is hiding. So, over here. This thing, which is the last step of my secret ambient goo sound. So that's why this episode doesn't have as much reverb as the other ones, is I ran out of space for that guy when I started to test this guy. But it's still cool, and it sounds fine this week, right? Just doesn't have that infinite goo, because yeah, the DL4. Well, anyways, we're just talking about pedals right now. Then right now I have that, even though that's not mine at all, so it's not really mine. The next thing, the most important part of my guitar rig, honestly, is the splitter. I have a radial shotgun, which is a 1 in, 4 out guitar splitter, and it does nothing to my sound or anything. It's literally a splitter. And the reason I have one of those is because I like to have my Axe effects, and I like to have my amp that's back there, and I like to record bass, and, you know, all of those things with one cable is just amazing. But, so let's explain where that split goes. One of the splits goes currently to this thing, the Fender Pro Tone Master thing. It's the cable that usually goes to a Roland GP100 I have. One of them goes to my Axe effects. One of them goes to the... where's the other one go? That's a good question, Rick. Oh, one's a DI, a completely raw DI. And then one goes to my guitar rig, my pedal board, and my amp there. So on my analog tone, where there is no digitalness happening until the very end, I have a ISP decimator. Hey, Kev. ISP decimator, the newest edition, which is this red Dynacomp. Oh, get out of the way, Rick. There you go. You can see the color. The red Dynacomp and the green Tube Screamer. The Dynacomp is brand new to me. I think I talked about it last week on the podcast. I bought it, and it didn't work. And I was like, what the fuck? It was a mute button. Every time I turned it on and off, it would just mute my signal. And I was like, that's not how this is supposed to work. So I took it to work, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, guys. So I tested it there, and it was perfect. And then I brought it home, and it was perfect. So I still don't know what happened. I think I may have just gone crazy that night. But long story short, it works now. So that's cool. That goes into the Tube Screamer. I don't need to turn around anymore. The Tube Screamer then goes into my amp, but not before it goes to a Dark Glass B7K, which is splitter as well. So the one side of it goes right to the audio interface to record bass direct, like with the B7K on it. And the other goes unaffected. There's a parallel out, which never has the B7K sound on it. That's what actually feeds my Mesa Boogie back there. The Mesa Boogie is not going into that Marshall cab. That Marshall cab is just for show, like most of the cabinets you've ever seen in your life on a stage. It's real. It has speakers in it. I just don't use it because I'm in a condo. And I like my amp at like 7 or 8, so that would literally get the police called in a heartbeat. You're hearing it, though, through that little white box beside it, which is a 2 Notes Captor X, even though you're not hearing it this week. And that is, like I said earlier, a cabinet modeler. So it means I can run that tube amp nice and loud and hot silently, like it's not putting out any sound. There's actually a motor in that thing that spins a fan to keep it cool. And when you go super loud and play a palm mute, you can hear it go, because it's absorbing all the energy. Like, because a tube amp puts out 100 watts of power. It's got to go somewhere. But that thing is just eating up all that power so that it doesn't explode. And then putting on a speaker simulator and a microphone simulator and all those things. And speaking of a microphone simulator, the nicest thing about it is you can move the microphone completely freely within the digital realm. That's a gripe I have with the Tone Master Pro, is that the microphone moves on a gridded type system where you go this preset, that preset, that preset, that preset, and there's no free movement. So it just doesn't feel that part of it doesn't seem quite as realistic, let's call it, in this digital world. That said, all the spots you can put them sound fine, and you can still dial in a sound, I'm sure. I have. What am I talking about? But yeah, if I could change one thing about it so far, it would be letting you freely move the microphone, and also letting the global EQ be savable per preset, not give you 4 EQ. Well, I'm getting into the stuff that I need to film next, which is an actual review with all my thoughts on this Tone Master Pro. And that said, that's a great time to wrap up this video because clearly my brain is thinking about reviewing the Fender Tonemaster Pro. Thank you for watching this week if you have. Thank you for listening if that's how you absorb podcasts like a regular human being. If you just if you just listened, you didn't know what I was talking about the whole haircut shit, you missed out on so much. Man, I light this place up like a Christmas tree, and it gets warm. So please watch these instead of listening to them. That's where most of the effort goes. Till next week, thank you so much for watching. I will make another video now, and maybe make some food or something. See you next time.